Look at the symmetrical red sandstone architecture of this complex. This is Fatehpur Sikri. On a Thursday evening in 1575, the most powerful ruler in the world sat in a specially built hall here, watching his top Muslim scholars fiercely argue over theology. Akbar the Great had a simple question: how do you know you are right? The elite theologians he gathered couldn't give him a satisfying answer. Instead of illuminating a definitive truth, they traded insults and quarreled over dogma. If his own scholars were flawed, he would widen the net. He invited the priests and mystics of every other religion he could find, Hindu pundits, Jain monks, Zoroastrian fire priests, and Catholic Jesuits, to step into his court and answer his question. Gathering scholars of wildly different faiths was the calculated move of a ruler actively searching for an undeniable epistemological baseline. This is a portrait of a man with an unlikely background. Born in exile and never taught to read or write, Akbar inherited a violent, unstable realm at the age of 13. This map of the 16th century Indian subcontinent visualizes his immediate problem. He was a Muslim emperor attempting to govern roughly 100 million people, and the vast majority of those subjects were Hindu. Attempting to force strict Islamic dogma onto a population with this severe of a demographic imbalance is a mathematical guarantee of endless rebellion. He needed a different approach. In this miniature painting, you can see the diverse, crowded gatherings that took place in a building Akbar erected called the Ibadat Khana, or House of Worship. Here, he brought together the Jesuits, Jains, and Zoroastrians. The emperor did not sit passively and listen. He interrogated them. He aggressively cross-examined Christian theology, probed Jain principles of nonviolence, and pushed back on Hindu philosophy, searching to locate their underlying structural flaws. As these debates inevitably ended in intellectual deadlock, Akbar leveraged the confusion. He issued a document called the Mazar, which formally stripped the orthodox religious scholars of their institutional power and made himself the final arbiter of Islamic law. The Ibadat Khana served as a highly effective administrative tool. It systematically dismantled the religious monopolies that had previously controlled state policy. From these debates, Akbar arrived at a guiding philosophy called Sulh-i-kul, or universal peace. It operated on the idea that the divine transcends the boundaries of any single tradition, rejecting exclusive claims to truth. He translated this philosophy into immediate administrative action. First, he abolished the jizya, a long-standing tax levied specifically on non-Muslim subjects. He ended the practice of enslaving prisoners of war who refused to convert to Islam. He also married Rajput Hindu princesses without requiring them to convert, deliberately allowing them to maintain their own religious practices inside the royal household. This chart shows his hierarchy, with Hindu officials at the highest levels of the military and financial systems. Finance Minister Raja Todar Mal designed an efficient revenue system, and its uninterrupted flow of wealth funded the empire's golden age. Treating all faiths with a neutral hand proved to be a politically rational business strategy. It bought the direct loyalty of the exact communities required to make the state incredibly wealthy. Half a century later, Akbar's great-grandson, Aurangzeb, inherited the largest and wealthiest iteration of this Mughal machine. Aurangzeb made a conscious decision to reverse his great-grandfather's experiment. He strictly enforced Islamic law across the subcontinent and reimposed the jizya tax on non-Muslims. He actively ordered the destruction of Hindu temples, replacing them with mosques, and systemically dismissed Hindu nobles from their senior administrative roles. By deliberately abandoning Sulh-i-kul, Aurangzeb initiated the ultimate historical variable test on the empire's logic. The consequences were immediate and devastating. Formerly loyal Rajput allies rose in rebellion, and the Maratha Confederacy gathered the strength to actively destroy Mughal authority. The state's financial efficiency degraded rapidly. Competent administrators were fired and replaced by officials chosen purely for their religious orthodoxy. By the end of Aurangzeb's reign, the empire was fractured, bankrupt, and reduced to a legal fiction propped up by regional successor states. Akbar's initial path succeeded because he brilliantly utilized the spiritually open Sufi traditions of his own faith to solve a massive geopolitical puzzle. Look at this towering gateway. A complex structure requires a balanced foundation to remain standing. Religious neutrality and political inclusion are the load-bearing physics required to sustain any massive, diverse society.